was quite fascinating for me as a kid, because in those days when they still had China dolls and, you know, the teddy bears were teddy bears, which were quite highly valuable. If anything went wrong with your doll, you just took it there and got it repaired. And it was quite nice seeing the shop window with all these toys in it. So you'd see the toys, you know, in a really bad state, and then the next week you go back, it's all been repaired. So even when we had a doll or something, we took it there, it got repaired. But unfortunately, I think in the late 70s, the dolls hospital closed, and you know, there was no need for it, because by that time people were just toys that evolved.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I want to give a warm welcome to those of you who are just stopping by for the first time, and as well those who are coming back. I really appreciate you coming. And today in the studio I have a very special guest, Kemi, who I've been trying to get hold of for a long time, and she's finally got out time for us. Today is actually Sunday afternoon. Can you believe it? So Kemi, can you please introduce yourself and your business?
So my name's Kemi, and I am the founder and creative director of the So London project.
Oh, great. Nice to have you. So London, I can imagine that means something to do with sewing.
Yep.
So what do you actually do?
So London project, we're very much about sustainable responsibility.
Okay.
Sewing and upcycling. We look for ways of how we can improve the environment through reducing the harmful effects of fast fashion, and at the same time we use that to improve people's lives. So we run quite a few projects on sewing, environmental issues, and we sort of combine it together, training programs, and we also help people into entrepreneurship.
Okay. Oh, that's good. So yeah, we're going to come back to that later on, but I wanted to find out what inspired you to get into sewing and all of this. What was the inspiration?
My inspiration, I think, having been brought up by two mums and two dads. So I had foster parents and I had my real Nigerian parents, but both of them had one thing in common: sustainability.
Okay.
So my foster mum was of that generation where you mend and make do. You don't throw anything away, nothing. And I remember being brought up in Brighton, and we had this place that we used to call the Dolls Hospital. It was quite fascinating for me as a kid, because in those days when they still had China dolls and, you know, the teddy bears were teddy bears, which were quite highly valuable. If anything went wrong with your doll, you just took it there and got it repaired. And it was quite nice seeing the shop window with all these toys in it. So you'd see the toys, you know, in a really bad state, and then the next week you go back, it's all been repaired. So even when we had a doll or something, we took it there, it got repaired. But unfortunately, I think in the late 70s, the dolls hospital closed, and you know, there was no need for it, because by that time people were just toys that evolved.
Yeah.
And then when I went and lived with my Nigerian parents in Nigeria, so we went from England to Nigeria, one of the things that I noticed was this amazing ability in Nigeria for people to upcycle things. Mm-hmm. You know, if you wanted a garment made, they just called a tailor, you sketched it and gave it to them, and they made this amazing outfit. Yeah. And anytime we wanted anything made, my mom would go, wait, hang on a second, before we buy a new fabric, let me check my wardrobe or my suitcase or my trunk box. Yeah. And she'd bring out this garment and she'd say, do you like this fabric? We're like, oh, this is really nice. Okay, you can have that. So having been brought up that way, for me, it was always exciting, you know, to have someone just bring out something that had a fresh perspective, and would go, you can make this, you can have this made. Yeah. So that's what inspired me.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of my mom as well, because she had this dress from the 70s, this psychedelic brown dress, and I remember, and it was a maxi for her. Wow. But I took it and had them convert it into a dress. And you're right, back then, to be fair, the fabric was better quality then, so they lasted. I have clothes that I bought before my daughter was born, and she's 26, coming up to 26. Yeah. So clothes used to last a lot longer than they do now, and you can recycle. But so it is good that you're actually bringing back what we used to know back in the 60s, 70s. Yeah. You know, you didn't have a whole wardrobe of clothes. No. It was just a few items.
It was just a few very well made, good quality garments. But I think all this happened because from about the 50s and 60s, supermarkets came into being. A lot of the younger generation don't actually know that there wasn't anything like supermarkets until this whole revolution for commercial shopping markets, or malls, as we call malls, now came into being. And I remember in the 50s, well, I'm saying I remember, but you know, 60s, 50s, so I say 60s because that's where I'm from, the 60s, but the 50s, you had a proper handmade garment, and that's why so many of those clothes have survived till today. whereby when you compare it with fast fashion today and some of the garments, you wear it 3-4 times. It lathers, it's synthetic fiber.
Yes.
They don't break down easily. They go to landfill. They could be there for 50 years. It won't break down. So it's a whole load of issues that I think at the Sew London project we can't solve everything, but we're taking on a bit at a time.
And talking about the generation, you're right, because my mom used to sew. I remember when she came to England, the very first thing she bought me was a sewing machine, and I made some curtains. But of course, kids come along, I just kind of dumped it. But I'm trying to revive it and do a bit of sewing, but maybe not as much as I could. But if I had time. So anyway, we're back to you. So what? So obviously you came to the UK. You started. What did you do when you came to the UK?
Okay, so I was born here, brought up here, and then in the 70s, my parents took us back to Nigeria, and that's where we got to know more about our culture. But we came back again. They took us to Nigeria for the first time in the 70s, schooled there, came back in the early 90s, and came back and I studied fashion.
Okay.
Yes, so in Nigeria, I went to Yaba College of Technology and I studied fine art. And came back to England and studied fashion, and then went back again to university to study education. So that's how I ended up becoming a teacher, but a teacher of 2 subjects that I was very passionate about. So I ended up teaching secondary school here for about 21 years.
Wow.
Fine art and also textile technology.
Wow, that's interesting. So from being a teacher to setting up your own business, what inspired you to take that step?
I think for me, the inspiration, like I said, because I'd always been inspired about upcycling and sewing. I think again also working in a secondary school. I remember there was a year where I had a young girl, she couldn't attend prom. And I thought, well, why are you not attending prom, because normally in secondary school, if we had children that were really challenging, they weren't allowed to come to prom. It was just as it was, so it was a way of, trying to get them to behave properly. And so I couldn't understand why she wasn't coming to prom, because she was one of the really focused children, there weren't those challenges. And she said, Miss, my dad can't afford it. And that really broke me. So because of it, inspired me to set up an after-school club called Project Prom. So I taught the children in school how to make their prom dresses. And one year, they all wore their prom dresses. I taught them how to make them. I showed them how it would look professionally done and on a budget. And I thought to myself, because for years I'd wanted to set up my own business, but as you know, marriage, children, so you put all those things on hold. And I remember it was the year where I just thought, do I really want to stay here? The longer I stay here in school, I'm never going to self-actualize my own dreams and visions. So I think there was one year where I was told, we're reducing your subject, and would you like to teach numeracy and literacy? And I thought, I'm an artist, I'm creative. I don't want to teach those subjects. I have no passion for them. And I think if you're passionate about what you teach, it comes out. It comes through, it shows. Now, I wasn't passionate about numeracy and literacy because I'm an artist, I'm a creative. And that was the year that I just knew this was the time for me to leave. And I remember that year I prepared myself. I remember that year before I took the plunge, I had made sure that I didn't owe any debt, and I had savings to cover me for about a year to 2 years within that 1 year of preparing myself. And that's one advice I'd give to anyone. If you're going to take the plunge, don't just leave work, prepare savings. And I didn't just leave immediately. I had a good relationship with the school, so I just stayed back and did supply teaching 3 days a week. Went down to 2 days a week, 1 day a week, and eventually I never went back. That was it.
Okay, great. So thank you for that, because people would like to know, what inspired you. So now that you've got this kind of business, how do you interact with the community? So how does this business make money? That's asking that.
So Sew London project is made up of so many parts. The way how I run my business is we've got the Sew London project, which is a social enterprise. Then we've got Kemi, the fashion designer, or recyclers. So, and we've also got Keziah's wardrobe. So Keziah's wardrobe is the part of me that takes on private commissions. So I could be anything from wedding gowns to special occasions. Then we've got Kemi, the brand herself. Where I do collaborative projects and I go out into the community, and people might say, could you come and run some workshops? for us. The social enterprise itself is when we get a bit of funding and we teach people how to sew.
Okay.
So that's how I get to a lot of my interaction within the community. We run these creative health and wellbeing workshops within the community. Because we're so London Project, we can work anywhere, anywhere. We're always on the move. So for me, that is what we've been doing. We've been running workshops, and all the garments that we received or we've upcycled, they're in our repurposed store as we speak right now. We're doing an amazing pop-up there, and we've been selling every day, which is fantastic. So if you're looking for something really unusual, come to Redbridge, Ilford High Street. We're at the Spark Lab, and come and buy our amazing clothes or book a workshop.
I was coming to that. So if people did want to come on a workshop there, how can they get hold of you?
So they can email us. The fastest way to get us is on Instagram.
So we'll put we'll share Kemi's handle below, and also website and email, you said. So we'll share all those details below. So if you're in the Redbridge area, in fact anywhere in London, always wanted to sew or curious about how dresses, garments can be transformed, definitely pop over to Kemi's place. So what's your vision for the future?
My vision for the future is to keep, I always say, taking a high street at a time. But our vision really is to just take on the high streets and to bring creativity, health and well-being wherever we go.
Is that the UK? Globally?
UK and globally. We do have our eyes out.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
why not?
Yes, so we've done a bit of work in Nigeria.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And we're looking at some other countries too. But for now, we need to conquer UK.
I don't think I've asked you how long you've been running the business.
So we've been running Soul London Project for 12 years.
Wow. 3 skills that have made you this superhero.
So resilience is number one for me. I think if you're resilient with things, no matter how many doors are shut in your face
or slammed,
it almost gives you a kind of superhero-esque type of personality that, like, okay, you shut the door in my face,
I'm gonna show you.
I ain't going down. You know, I'm going to fight this to the end. So resilience for me is one of the strongest ones for me, that you can't give up, because it's your dream, it's your vision. You know, nobody else is going to interpret it than you are, unless it was a fluke. But it's not a fluke. It's something that you've wanted to do, like forever. It comes right deep down inside there, so you're resilient about it. The other one is learning to be flexible. You know, learning to be flexible, because if you're not flexible, if you say to yourself, like, COVID was one of the the biggest teachers, you know, because if you said, no, I'm just going to sew, nobody was coming in to sew, you know, and people were not coming in for workshops neither. So it was a period where I had to go back to the drawing board. And I think when you're flexible, go back to the drawing board and just, what can I do differently? Remember, I was doing teaching online. I don't even like social media because I found it quite intrusive and, you know, things to do with my privacy, you know, but I had to go online and run some workshops. I did a couple of collaborative projects, but it worked. It kept me above water, you know.
You can't have a fixed mindset in business. You have to be flexible, like you said,
because
really you have to be able to move. There are macro factors outside, and then the business itself is adapting, so you just can't. Change is constant, as
it is constant. And I think the third one for me is learning to enhance the power of the word no. And I'll explain. It's so important to learn to say. So let no work for you both ways. If somebody tells me no, oh my goodness, that is power. Because no, honestly, if someone says no, I look at it like, no, there has to be another way. However, I myself have learned to say no. Because a lot of times people will bring you business collaborations and business ideas that, you know, that, listen, is either going to spoil that relationship you have. That person might not be on the same wavelength as you in terms of the way how you work. I would rather say no and retain a relationship than enter into something and destroy that relationship. So I think enhancing the power of the word no is really, really important. But look at some of the most famous people. WhatsApp, he was told no. He just took it and developed it for himself. Now we're all using WhatsApp.
Look at J.K. Rowling.
Exactly.
So how many no's she got?
And look at today.
If you were to give your 25-year-old any advice, what would you tell Kemi at 25? Now looking back, I don't know how old you are. You said 21. 21 plus change. Yeah.
I think what I would have told my 25-year-old now is to have started earlier.
Yeah.
I would have started earlier, and I think again that the commitment and the responsibilities of being a mum, a wife at the time, you look at yourself, you realize you don't want your children to miss out.
Yes.
So you take on that permanent job. You put aside your dreams, your goals, your visions to bring up your children, and because you get used to having a regular salary.
Tell me about it.
You know, and I remember it is. You look back at some of the younger generation now that they're like, no. But then I do like to remind the younger generation, it's because you're still living with the bank of mom and dad, so you don't have to pay the mortgage and you know.
Because we didn't have. We didn't have that when we came.
No, we all, most of us came in the late 80s and 90s, and it was like, right,
on your own.
There was no aunties and uncles to help. You just go and find a place. You're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would tell my younger self now, to start a bit more earlier. And not to worry so much about what people think.
Oh God, yeah. I think that comes to everybody with time.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things, because you do worry about, and it holds you back.
It does.
I wanted to do this years ago, and it's like, oh yeah, what will people say?
Yeah.
They'll see me. They'll this. Life is short.
It is.
And
yeah.
Anyway, on that morbid note.
My final words to anyone who wants to start a business is to go for it. But when you do go for it, have a plan in place. Don't just stop. Yeah. So in my case, I went down to 3 days a week, 2 days a week, 1 day a week, to a point where I knew that, right, that's it. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
No, it's
anybody starting a business, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There's going to be up days, down days, and especially in this particular climate where things are up, down, mortgage rates, interest rates. This is my take on it, that if there was no Goliath, David would never have become king.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kemi. It's nice to have you on the show, and I'm sure you guys found it inspiring. Can you please leave a comment? If you like the video, please do so, share, and don't forget to subscribe. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care and be bold.